Hello and welcome to BeesTV. Today we played Huddersfield and it was yet again another draw. That's three draws on the bounce and it's really not going well. Every draw we have, it feels like a loss. We just feel like we're not doing something right. We can't. Draws are unacceptable at this stage of the season. Jatin, what went wrong today?
It was just another mistake again that cost us. It was Huddersfield only had like three shots on target, and only one of them were of a good save. Ray made a good save towards, I think it was the 60th or 70th minute. He made a good low save. Other than that, they didn't test us much. Again, it was just our own errors that cost us. And then after that, it just seemed another lethargic performance where, we were booting balls forward. We were just sort of, it seemed like we were still playing into the international break. It didn't seem like we got a 2 weeks break. So that was, I hoped before the international break that we would get a boost. We got energy now. We should be able to kick on and sort of put a good end to the season. But it just looked lethargic. Then you know, I think it's the mistake didn't help. But then again, tactically, it just seems like we haven't got the personnel to do the system Frank's working on right now. And I think Frank's now got to be the careful line of whether he wants to continue with this tactics of playing from the back using his fullbacks, or does he have to change it? But obviously, changing it now on such a close end to the season, it's so many fine lines that you don't know what to do. So today was just such a it was not an awful performance, but it wasn't the best performance that we could have had. But it was just lethargic and it's just so weird because you don't expect it, especially after 2 weeks of a break. You saw I watched quite a few of the games yesterday, and there was energy amongst teams. They looked like fresh from the break and they looked raring to go. And I saw us, and we just so out of it.
Yeah. Here's a question. Here's a question. Is Frank the right man for the job?
Luckily, I don't. Luckily, that doesn't come down to me.
Or
Luckily, that
or
doesn't
an
come.
or an easier question: is Frank the right man for the job to take us to the promised land of the Premier League?
You never know because I've had debates with fans this season. There are some fans that want him to go, and obviously, I completely understand that, and I respect that opinion. But it's just for me, I don't. It's hard to say because there are some fans that want him to go, and again, I respect that. But there are some people that are abusive towards that, and I don't agree with that because he's it was his first season. You always have to give the managers time. His first season, what he did, whether you say it's the squad, and people are saying, oh, he got given the squad. You still have to make that squad perform. You can't just be given a squad and expect them to play how they want. Yeah, there are many examples. Unai Emery at PSG, he got given the best players on the planet. He didn't perform as well. There are so many cases. Obviously, that's an extreme example. There are cases where managers were giving very good teams and they still underperformed. So it was, so it's hard to say, is he the right man for the job? I still think he should be given to the end of the season. I don't think there's no point sacking him now. If people want to, there's no real point to sack him now. I think in the summer, the squad, the club have to reevaluate it. Do they want to continue with Frank? Do they think there were external circumstances that cost us this season if we don't make it as promised land? Obviously, it's hard to say right now. After the first season, he did well enough. Obviously, we failed at the final hurdle, but he should have been given that time for the second season. It's for me, you can't sack a manager after a season we had like last season. So he was given the opportunity this season, lost Benrahma, lost Watkins, got Tony, got only well, Tony really is and Godos, but he hasn't hit the levels. Do I think he's the right man? Maybe not. Maybe not. Do I think we can go for someone better? Yes. Do I think we should go for someone better? It depends. That's the club's decision. It's we can say what we fan. I think for this season, he's done okay. Given the circumstances, there are signs where he's tactically not there, and you can tell there are certain. The Norwich game probably the biggest example. And there are examples last season. Nottingham Forest, we lost 1-0 both. I think both games, and it's just hard to say. I think he's got given the time. Do I think they should sack him now? No, but is he the right man? It's so hard to say. But I think we can go for someone better. But for now, I'm gonna support him because that's not gonna change. I don't think that will change now, and I don't think that will change next season. I think Brentford of appointing the right man rather than the best man. And I think they'd rather have Thomas Frank. The reason Thomas Frank got it, because even though he didn't have the best of starts after D Swift left, but they gave him on that. He's a Brentford man, and that he knows what to do. But I don't know. In the end, that it's such a hard thing. It's such a hard thing. I know it's such a long-winded answer, but for now he is. But obviously, the summer will tell so many difference depending on what we do.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think for me, I'd summarize it by saying Thomas Frank, he's a good manager, but he might not be able to take us to the Premier League. So he's not a bad manager. He doesn't deserve abuse because at the end of the day, he's a good manager. But I don't think there's questions to be asked like whether he's good enough to take us to the Premier League. And even if we did get there, right now we would not survive. We would not survive. Thoughts?
No, but obviously, when you get to the Prem, things change. I think when every squad goes up, Fulham went up, they had to change their squad radically. Their squad is now there are 5, 6 players involved now that they weren't in the Championship. When you go up, your squad has to change drastically, and it's hard to say whether this no top Championship squad. Norwich are the best example. They're champions of. They will obviously. I think they will end up as champions of the Championship this season. But their squad is near identical to the squad they had last season, minus who I think they lost Godfrey and one other person. So it's hard to say. Obviously, the Championship levels and Premiership levels are completely different levels. So to say this squad, obviously, no squad in this Championship will survive in the Prem because you got to improve it. But do I think our squad could survive with a few investments with Thomas Frank? It'd be hard to say because obviously everything has over a season, but
I'd
I
say
want to give him that benefit of the
last year
doubt.
we would. Last year we would have with Ollie Watkins, Ben Rama, and Buemo as at front three, and then we had good midfield with Jensen, Norgard, and De Silva, and our backline was actually doing quite well last season. Dalsgaard, Rico Henry. Obviously, I think you've got to take into account we don't have Rico Henry right now. He is very very pivotal in winning
Mm.
games. Often comes out with a few. I think last year we would have survived in the Premier League had we gone up, but I don't think we would now.
No, but it's that thing that Rico Henry is such an integral part of the system. Is what I said. Tactically, does Frank need to change because we don't have the personnel? Because right now we don't have the personnel of two attacking fullbacks that can get up and down that are good at both. Dalsgaard and Rico Henry are both that. Now we've lost both. Henrik, sorry. So Dalsgaard for a little less because I think he'll be good in 1 or 2 weeks. Rico, obviously, he won't be available till I think near the playoffs. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard, but it's obviously hard to say. But I'm backing Frank to the end of the season, and then I'll look at the summer and I'll see are the club have let him down in some respects. With letting Dominic Thompson go. Even if people think he's not good enough, he's still a left back. It's the same with Rosalev. He may not be good, but at least he's a right back. At least he's a right back to say we can't because Mad Beck. I feel sorry for him because he's being put out onto the left and he's not comfortable there. You can tell he's not comfortable there. So it's hard to say. I keep saying it's Frank the job because I don't know, but in the summer I'll have to look at it. But luckily that's not my decision. That's for the club, and the club for the majority part have got it right. But this is obviously going to be a big one.
But then there's the argument that, like, when we did have the right personnel last year, we were doing good. We were doing good, and do you think it's a good enough excuse? Because actually, now that I'm thinking about it, yes, we didn't win today. We did draw, but then again, we had two B-Tech fullbacks. We didn't have a full team. We know how important fullbacks are in our side. Every player is important, and to lose two of our players on either side, is it sort of like a consolation for losing? What is it like? Is it sort of an excuse because like you can't like last year Frank was the right man, but this year we've been plagued with injuries. We haven't had the right team. We've lost Ben Rama, lost Watkins. Is it just a matter of going again next season with a full squad and buying the players that we need?
But if it takes, it's no excuse that the moment we lost Rico Henry is the moment we start to decline. If Rico Henry is that massively to our side, then I've got to question that because you're not going to survive in the Prem if all it takes is one injury when it will cost you your entire season. Because we went 4 games on, we went 21 games unbeaten. Then we lost Rico. We lost then 4 in a row. We got one up. Then we lost to Norwich, and then we went on this 3 draw period of near teams now at the bottom. So if losing Rico Henry does that much to a squad, obviously he's an integral part. I'm not going to deny that, but you've got to be able to over a season prepare for that. But obviously, this is an unprecedented season where you're playing back-to-back games for large majorities of it. So I'm hoping, obviously, next season, if we don't get there, that that's an easier part. But obviously, it's going to be rebuilding the squad again, and that's always that issue. So if Rico Henry is that big to our squad, that all of a sudden our team looks so much void of it, then I'm worried about that because it should never be like that. That you're reliant on such one player, and that's the same with Tony. If Tony, let's say Tony breaks his kneecaps on Tuesday, I don't want that. God forbid that happen, and I don't want to see that happen. But teams should be prepared for backup plans. You're not gonna Force is never gonna be good as Tony, but at least we have him as a backup. At least we know, given the service, he can score goals. Maybe not as much as Tony, he can do that. In the same way, we should have been prepared for the event that Rico Henry, who's been susceptible to injuries, at the point there were for us, he's been with us for years now, and he's had injuries quite a bit. So they should have been planning that, what if Rico does get into that part, because there is fatigue, there are injuries, that we do have backup for that. But we didn't have backup for that. So it's just lack of poor planning from the club at that point, because you should have known that it should have been clear that, okay, Rico Henry is susceptible to injuries. We need to put protection in that place because that's a key part of our system. With Norgard, we got backup by bringing Yano in. And that was the good part. We brought Yano in good and one of our players of the season. So it's just lack of poor planning. And, it does cost us. But in the end, if losing one player, and, we did have Norgard and Pontus missing for quite a bit. If it takes one player to cost us our entire playing performance and everything, then that's a massive worry. Because if we can't handle losing one player in the championship, how are we going to do that in the Prem?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, but I've sort of answered the question right now. I was going to ask, would you rather get promoted this year or rebuild next season? But then again, if you rebuild next season, it means we lose Rico Henry, we lose Ivan Toney, we lose Josh Da Silva, some of the other key players as well. We're gonna lose them all, and I don't think. Do you reckon push for automatics, push for playoffs? What's your hopes for the season? What do you think we should do? Or just do the best we can?
Yeah, do the best we can. I still
take it. Actually, I think it's a matter of taking it game by game.
Yeah, so we still push for autos, push to win every game. Realistically, I think we settle for the playoffs. We get all our players back in and we give it a go. We try to break this bad luck we have at Wembley, because I think with the full squad, I think next to, if we're basing it on the current top 6 right now, in the four we'd face in the playoffs, I think we would be one of the favourites to win that. Obviously, with our record, that doesn't help. But I think with our full squad, why wouldn't we? We should have that confidence that our squad is good enough to do it. So I think it's just going one by one. And as you said, if we gain promotion, even if we got relegated, if we gain promotion this season, if we got relegated last season, the amount of money that does for the club could help us secure that, because that's what a lot of clubs do. That's what Villa did. They went up, they try to spend. That's what Fulham, Villa did. That's a lot of clubs do. They go up, they don't spend too much, or they try to survive, or they do spend a lot. Then they use the parachute payments if they get relegated to sort of sustain the club. And that's what we can do. If we go up this season, I don't mind going. If we get relegated next season, fine. We just use the parachute payments, spend money where we need to, and then we go back up. And that's just how you do it. That's how clubs are operating right now, and I don't see why wouldn't we do the same.
Yeah, perfectly said. Fulham and them lot must be gaining loads of money, like just from coming up and down, up and down. I mean,
yeah, well, that's it is.
Yeah, I mean, it is a business after all. Brentford as a business, we're actually doing quite well right now on like cash, on revenue and profits. But anything else to add?
No, just gotta see what the season lies for us, and hopefully it's a happy ending. But you never know with this club.
Yeah, never know. I mean, it's Brentford, isn't it? That's been the quote. That's been the quote for the last however knows. Anyway, thank you very much, Jatin, for coming on, and thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Thank you, and on to the next game. Goodbye.